Hey guys, Jinx here, and today I want to show you how to beat the Pumpking boss on hard mode in a very easy strategy. Let's just start by jumping right into the team. The first one we're going to look at is Krookodile. Krookodile is the most common one used in Pumpking fights, especially easy mode. However, there are some really important changes to this Krookodile for the hard mode specifically. Most notably, it has to be Jolly Nature. If you do an Adamant Nature, it's possible and it will work sometimes with this strategy. However, if you come up against a Pump Thief, it can really throw things off. So I highly recommend going Jolly Nature on this Krookodile. You'll want pretty good defenses, about 25 plus, along with 31 attack and 31 speed in your IVs. For EVs, you're going to max your attack, you're going to go 88 defense and 168 speed. Your ability has to be Moxie with this. This way, when you kill the ads, it'll power you up so that you hit Pumpking harder. You're going to use Choice Band as your ability because you're going to be using Earthquake in almost every situation. I usually leave Crunch on just in case something weird happens, but I'm just going to be using Earthquake every time here. A very important message with Earthquake, you have to PP max it. If you're not PP maxed, you will run out. On an average run, you'll use about 12 Earthquakes, but it's good to have the others just in case something goes weird and you need to go an extra turn or two. So make sure you use a PP max on your Earthquake. The next Pokemon in our team is Tyranitar. This Tyranitar is going to want to be Adamant with 31 attack, 31 speed, and 25 plus in all 3 defenses. You're going to go straight attack and speed for its EVs, and you can dump the rest into HP. Make sure you're Adamant Nature as well, because you're going to be using this guy for a lot of damage. You want Sandstream as your ability on this, and Air Balloon as your item. That's going to allow you to Earthquake with Krookodile, and you don't have to worry about getting hit with Tyranitar. You need Assurance and Crunch. You're going to be using both of these moves. Assurance gets bonus damage when you've already hit something this turn, so we're going to be using that the majority of the time. Since Krookodile will be faster, he'll hit with EQ, and then we'll hit Assurance just to get that extra damage in. On the final turn though, we're not going to be using Krookodile for EQ because it gets swapped out, so you do need Crunch for that final turn, just to get that extra 20 power. The next one is Aerodactyl. This Aerodactyl is a bit of a strange build since it's jolly, however it's built defensively with its EVs. You're not using any attacks with it, so your attack and special attack IVs don't really matter. You're going to need at least 25 plus in your defenses and 31 in your speed. As for EVs, you're going to max your HP EV, go 150 in defense EV, and 108 in special defense. Wide Guard is an egg move, so make sure you get that on right at the beginning of the breed, or if you're buying one that's pre-made, make sure you get it with Wide Guard. If you don't have Wide Guard, you can't add it on unless it was bred on at the very beginning of the breed, so definitely double check that it has Wide Guard. You're going to need Tailwind, Taunt, and sometimes Crunch. The attack isn't very useful, we're only going to use it in really niche cases, but it's good to have there just as a backup. The item is going to be Lumberry. You can get away with Chestoberry in the majority of cases, however, it's a pretty good idea to have Lumberry just on some rare occasions where the ads might get a burn or a poison off on you. Now for the weirdest one, Gothitelle. Now the Gothitelle is a pretty strange build. You're going to want 0 special defense, as low physical defense as possible, and 10 HP or somewhere right around that point. Don't go under 10, but if you have 11, 12, or a little bit, even if you get into the higher numbers, it is fine, but you will have to adjust your EVs. It's very important that you have 304 HP. I'm honestly not entirely sure about this because I didn't develop this strategy, but it has been highlighted to me the importance of having exactly 304 HP. You also need 31 speed and 252 in your speed EV. The rest of the EVs don't really matter, and your HP EV will depend on your HP IV. Just make sure you have that 304 and max speed and minimum special defense with low defense. Your nature needs to be naive for this. This is just to get your special defense lower and that speed even higher. The reason we want low defenses is because we're going to be getting purposefully KO'd at certain points in the fight, so it's important to monitor your HP so that that happens at the right point. The item is going to be Choice Scarf, just so we can outspeed everything. We want as fast as possible on this, so that we can get our taunt and heal blocks off effectively. We're going to be taunting and heal blocking and nothing else. You can throw an attack on just to have in the back pocket in case something happens, but you're only going to be using these 2 moves. Another weird thing to point out is it should be level 94. The nice thing is you don't get any XP during the Pumpking fight, So once you get it to 94, you don't have to worry about over leveling. Just get it to 94 and you can leave it. Saves you some time on leveling also. Again, I'm not sure exactly why this is, however it has been highlighted that level 94 is quite important for this strategy. I have a feeling it has something to do with maintaining low defenses while hitting that perfect 304 HP slot. So that's the team, and now just before we hop into the run, I just want to give a quick thank you to a couple of people. The first thank you goes to Turtle for actually developing this strategy. Second, to Rommel for popularizing it through an awesome guide that he made last year. Third, to Osiris Reborn, who I was asking constantly questions and was always super helpful. And finally, a quick thank you to Zanarchy for double checking some of this info. So I really appreciate all of your time and commitment to this community. The items you're going to need for this fight are broom cookies. You'll go through 1 to 2 of these per run. You're going to need a pumpkin cookie. You'll go through 1 of these per run. You're going to need X attacks. You're going to go through an average of 5 of these per run. Revives or revival herbs. You're going to go through 1 of these per run on average. You'll also want these just for some certain situations. You want full heals, some awakenings, ghost cookies, hyper potions, lumberries, and maybe some extra X attacks. Now, in case things go really wrong, I like to have some max revives, max potions, and full restores. Usually I'm not using these, but just in case something goes really bad, I do like to keep these on hand. I haven't had to use any yet, but you never know what's going to happen. The RNG in this fight is surprisingly well mapped out. I wouldn't say it's a 100% consistent fight, but with the few variants that we've identified, you can get it to a very consistent fight. The nice thing is, in about 90% or more of my tests, it's just following the prescribed moves. You do exactly what it says in each turn, and it'll work in majority of the cases, other than a few that I'm going to point out as we go along. Now let's hop into it. It's important to have your Pokemon set up in the right order. You want Aerodactyl at the top, Krookodile second, and Gothitelle third, with Tyranitar in the 4th spot, just so we can bring him in afterwards. You can have 2 Pokemon for this that are going to be particles, so I'm going to be getting particles on my Zapdos, along with an Alpha Ditto just for selling off in the future. In order to start the fight, you need a special candy. In case you don't know, you get spooky candy from beating up the little kids and taking their candy, and then you feed that spooky candy to the mini-boss around the world to get a special candy. I usually just buy these off the GTL, because they're about 70k, and you make a lot more than that off this fight. The Pumpking stares ominously. Let's feed it some candy. We're going to make sure you select hard mode, and the Pumpkin came to life. Wahaha, you want more? With this spooky candy, you don't stand a chance. Well, let's see. So turn 1 is going to play out the exact same way every time. We're going to wide guard with Aerodactyl, Earthquake with Krookodile, and Taunt with Gothitelle. Now, a really nice new feature that makes keeping track of this even easier, if you keep up the battle log, it actually tells you what turn you're on. So as we go through, sometimes once you get to turn 2, 3, or 4, it can get hard to remember exactly what turn you're on, especially if you're distracted or watching something in the background. So use that to your advantage. So Krookodile is going to knock out the 2 ads. He'll OHKO every type of ad except for Lil Pump. Lil Pump is quite rare, but if you see Lil Pump, you're going to change it up and use Wide Guard anytime you see Lil Pump. This is because he has a priority move, Explosion. You need to Wide Guard, and that explosion won't hurt you. You'll be protected from the AoE damage. Alright, next turn, this is turn 2, phase 1. We're going to shift Aerodactyl with Gothitelle, we're going to Earthquake, and we're going to swap Gothitelle into our Tyranitar. Alright, on to turn 3, and again, if you ever lose track, just check out the battle log, it tells you exactly what turn you're on. So this time we're just Assurance, Earthquake, and Taunt. The Krookodile will outspeed Tyranitar and knock out the ads, and then we'll get the Assurance damage boost because Pumpking already took damage. The Assurance will do some extra damage to him. In addition, as Krookodile knocks out these ads, since he has Moxie, he's actually getting powered up every time. So now he's knocked out 4 ads, so he's at +4. So now we're in turn 4 of phase 1. So here you can heal up. Sometimes your Aerodactyl will be a little bit more hurt. Right now we're not too bad. So we're just going to knock him out with Tyranitar and Krookodile If you have a little bit more damage on them, you can heal up as needed. So we're here, we only need to heal up 1, so we're just going to Earthquake, Assurance, and here, just to be safe, I need 100 HP on him, so I'm going to pop a Hyper Potion. Sometimes you might want to use an Energy Root or something like that, but here, a Hyper Potion is more than enough. Grr, how are you so strong? Munch, munch, burp, burp. Alright, let's see phase 2. We're going to start by using an X attack. And we're going to put the X attack on Krookodile. We're going to use EQ with Krookodile. And we're going to use Heal Block on Pumpking. That's going to prevent the AoE attack that heals him and also will end up popping the air balloon. So you got to make sure you get that heal block off. Luckily, because Gothitelle is so fast, it goes off every time. So Krookodile knocks out the 2 adds and Gothitelle, powering him up and getting rid of our Gothitelle, making room for Tyranitar. So the thunder sometimes strikes on Aerodactyl, but when we bring in Tyranitar, it shuts off the thunder. Sometimes the rain overrules it, but that's totally fine. You might just need to heal up a little bit more and play it by ear occasionally. So here we're on turn 2. We're going to taunt with Aerodactyl, Earthquake with Krook, and Assurance with Tyranitar. Alright, on to turn 3, we're going to use a Pumpkin Cookie here. So the Pumpkin Cookie is going to heal Aerodactyl and everybody else up a little bit. We're going to use Earthquake to knock out the adds, and Tyranitar is actually going to use a Revive on Gothitelle. So going into turn 4 is where a little bit of RNG comes into place. Sometimes he can put your team to sleep. Aerodactyl, it won't be a big deal because his Lumberry will wake him up. However, if Krook and Tyranitar both get put to sleep, sometimes you might want to consider using a Ghost Cookie depending on where you are in the fight. You can heal up or just fight or however you need to do it, but coming into turn 4 right now, we're super healthy. Luckily we avoided the sleep, but if we needed to use a full heal or a Awakening here, we totally could. Like if Krookodile was asleep, we could just throw an Awakening on him. I'm just going to use a Super Potion, not a big deal, but I want to make sure Aerodactyl is nice and healed up, and I might as well right now. Then we're going to KO Pumpking, and into phase 3. Alright, going into phase 3, we get hit with Wither, which lowers all of our defenses, and it might cause a little bit of changes later on to our strategy, but starting out, we're always just going to start Broom Cookie to get rid of those stat debuffs. We're going to go EQ, and we're going to X attack on Krookodile. So here we knock out the adds, we get a little bit powered up, and we get rid of the debuffs. Then we bring in Tyranitar. Turn 2, we're just going to Tailwind, Earthquake, Assurance. So from here, we're going to use X attack on Tyranitar now. We're going to Earthquake with Krook, and we're going to Assurance with Tyranitar. You want to pay a little bit of attention to the withers, because if Tyranitar gets hit with a wither that lowers his attack, you might want to consider using a Werewolf Cookie or an extra X attack. So this brings us all down to 1 HP, but that's totally fine. He's low and we're going to knock him out next turn.
So sad.
So on this turn, after he knocks everyone to 1 HP, he swaps everybody around, and he's going to usually bring out your 2 Particle Mons. So here, we're going to use X attacks on Tyranitar. Most of the time, when he's at 13% or like this low, you can get away with 1 X attack, but typically, just to be safe, you want to use 2. Then you're going to Crunch with Tyranitar. We don't want to use Assurance here because we're not attacking him before we hit with Tyranitar. And that's it. We knocked out the Pumpking. Stares lifeless once more. We get our 5 Pumpkin goodie bags, and we get particle effects on all of our Mons in the party. I already had them on my 4 that I've been running this with, but now my Zapdos has the particle effect, along with this Ditto that can be bred onto anything. So that's how I do hard mode Pumpking. It's super consistent, it's very easy. You do have to be mindful though that sometimes you might have to change up your plan, so just be ready for that. There's a couple of variants that I want to highlight here since we didn't see them throughout this run. The first one is in phase 1 if your Gothitelle goes below 26%. I've never seen this happen, however if it does, make sure you heal Gothitelle up to just above 50 so that she's ready for the next phase. If you see a Pump Thief and it takes a plus attack away from Krook, since sometimes it does stat stealing, then you can use an extra X attack to buff it back up so that it's doing it the damage that it needs to knock out the team. If the Thief comes in and you need +2 to knock out the ads, you might run into trouble if you don't use that extra X attack. I already mentioned Lil Pump, we didn't see it in here, but he has an explosion that is priority move, so if you ever see Lil Pump, you have to use Wide Guard. No matter what, you have to use Wide Guard. That explosion is going to cause some problems. Wide Guard prevents damage from area attacks, so it'll save you from that. If something weird happens and you ever lose your air balloon on Tyranitar, typically the best course of action is just trying to do as much damage as possible. If you use Wide Guard and then EQ and Assurance, you're going to do a lot of damage to the boss while also protecting your Tyranitar from the Earthquake. If you use Earthquake without Wide Guard, you'll KO your Tyranitar. If Tyranitar doesn't kill on the last turn, then your Tyranitar will probably get knocked out, and your Particle Mons might get knocked out, but you still have that Krookodile with 1 HP. When he comes in, he'll outspeed, and you can just hit the Pumpkin and KO him. He'll be really low after Tyranitar hits him, even if he doesn't kill. If you run into really weird problems and the fight ends up going really long, I've never seen this, but I've been told that if maybe you make a mistake and the fight continues on, the Pumpkin continues getting defense boosts, you can use a broom cookie to wipe those defense boosts. And if you ever do just make a mistake or need some extended time to get some extra heals off, the best bet is usually taunting with Aerodactyl and healing using Tyranitar while continuing to Earthquake, just if you need those extra turns. The average cost of the items needed is a broom cookie, which is about 13k, a pumpkin cookie, which is about 7.5k, 5 X attacks, which are 2k each from the store, so that's a total of 10k, and revives or revival herbs, which are usually just under 3k. This means that an average run will cost you 33,500 in items, along with the special candy, which costs about 70 to 75k. Let's say it costs you 75k. The total cost of the run will be 108,500. It's really hard to say how much earnings you're going to get out of this since it varies so much throughout the event. Yesterday, these pumpkin goodie bags were selling for 75k. However, current prices have them right around 50k each. You get 5, so you're going to make 250k on average revenue. That leaves you with a net profit at current prices of 141,500 per run. It takes you about 10 minutes to do a run, which means you're going to be making about 850k per hour doing this method after you subtract costs. This isn't even considering the cost of the particle, which right now if you go off current Ditto prices, they're about 40k more with the particle on them compared to without. That means you're getting 2 particles at an average of 40k each for another total 80k per run. Again, if you're doing this in about 10 minutes, you're able to do 12 Mons per hour at 40k each. That's going to get you about an extra 480,000, which means between the pumpkin goodie bags and the particles, assuming the prices stay the same, again, the prices of these are fluctuating like crazy, you're going to be making an average of 1.3 million per hour, assuming you don't make any mistakes or get any faulty runs. Now, don't assume that because now there is small chances that you'll have to go off and do some weird thing with RNG. I don't want to ever claim that this is 100% successful, but it is very consistent and successful throughout my experiences. Not to mention, you can actually end up getting the shiny particle effect, which if we check out the GTL, is currently selling for 400k. Now, I haven't even seen one of these, so it must be a pretty low drop rate, but if you do get one, that's an extra 400k profit for you, or a cool particle effect. Now that's all you need to know about the hard mode Pumpking fight. I hope this strategy helps you out. If it did, leave a like and let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Hope you guys are enjoying this Halloween event. I know I sure have. And don't forget to subscribe, and I'll hit you with more of these types of guides. See you guys next time.